Good day and welcome to Walk With Me Ministries. I'm Reverend Mark Horn. I'm the pastor of Andrews Presbyterian Church, and this is an outreach of our church's ministry. And we're certainly glad you have joined us. It is an opportunity for us to look at local, primarily, state and world events, current events, through the lens of God's holy word. Today, I want us to consider an article that I read off of our local online news organization, Gab News. It's an article that is written by one Scott Harper 4 days ago. And it was I accessed it today at 1 o'clock p.m. But the article deals with an issue that is going on in our town, in Andrews, South Carolina. And it is an issue that is about our local police force. And the title of the news report is Sheriff, Deputies patrol town of Andrews more than half of the time. Now, one of the public perceptions of our town is a lack of police presence, that there are issues that go on. I've seen some online rants that the police, that they've called the local police and they have not responded in a timely manner, and so they were upset about that. And you wonder when you see things like that on social media, you wonder, well, what must be going on? And social media particularly falls under an old saying that my grandfather used to say, which is, believe nothing of what you hear and only half of what you see. And so with that, there was a town meeting, a town hall meeting this past week, and this was one of the issues that our mayor and our chief of police and others addressed with those present in the town hall. Now, part of their argument, part of the people who brings this issue to the public eye, and particularly to our mayor, feels like our residents of the town of Andrews is paying a tax for a police presence that isn't being met all of the time. So why is that? Why is that occurring? And what is, as God's people, should we do about this? Well, I want to begin with one simple passage, one verse of Scripture that is right from Jesus's Beatitudes in Matthew 5:9, where Jesus says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God." Now, of course, in that respect, Jesus is speaking primarily about those who are Christians, that gets in the mix of arguments and certain injustices and brings peace to the situation in a biblical manner. But there's also something to be said because we know from Romans 13, 1 through 14, that our government is designed, and our government is a part of the overarching issue that Paul talks about in Romans 13. Government is given by God as a gift to people in order to protect the people and to keep peace. And so in light of Romans 13, we have an obligation as Christians, as a society, to be somewhat submissive to our governing authorities and our peacemakers, our police officers, in whatever capacity that they are working, whether it is for city police, sheriff's office, National Guard, whatever it might be. And there's something to be said about the blessing of policemen and our police officers. Everyone who knows me knows that my wife's brother is the chief of police in Abbeville, South Carolina. We have had other first responders and policemen within the families, and friends, lots of friends work within the capacity of law enforcement officers or, school officers. And so with that, I understand personally the daunting task that our law enforcement officers, our LOEs, have on a daily basis to deal with the public in the manner in which they deal, and keep good health physically, good health mentally, and a strong family life. It's a difficult situation, especially on the salary that most law enforcement officers are paid. And so understanding that, there's something to be said about us having a blessing our policemen and supporting them, our police women as well, all of our law enforcement officers, and supporting them in the work that they do. Now, that is why this is disconcerting for me, because one of the things that we have going on in our town is that the budget for law enforcement officers, according to the news report, according to our police chief, Chris Cockle, and according to our mayor, Frank McClary, the budget is there to keep a full force. And for our town, that would be 5 police officers, to keep a full force running 24 hours a day, or however, they set the schedule. So the issue isn't whether the finances are there from the taxes that we have. And that's been the big complaint. We pay taxes. Why don't we see any policemen, see a full force at work and responding in a timely manner? And what we have learned, and what we learned in the town meeting, again, I wasn't there personally and physically, but as the report states, what we have going on is the fact that we can't get LOEs, we can't get police officers to come to the town of Andrews for the salary that we pay them. Let me recategorize what I say. because I want to speak specifically from what our mayor says. We can't get certified LOEs to come to our town with the salaries that we pay them. Now, we can get police officers to come and to serve our town who hasn't gone through the academy and who has not gotten certified as a policeman. We can afford those because you can pay them on a different scale. But those who are certified, fully certified law enforcement officers, and especially those with any kind of experience, in areas such as detective work, narcotics, forensics, whatever it may be, you certainly have a different pay level for those law enforcement officers as well. So what do we do? What can we do? Well, what we can do is what we are doing, and that is, according to the report, Sheriff Weaver said that his officers are on duty in the town. Now, Sheriff Weaver is the sheriff of Georgetown County, and his officers are serving Andrews Town 51 to 52% of the month. So with the task force that we have now on hand, with our police presence that Andrewstown has at the moment, those officers can only serve our town half of the month. And the other half of the month, we are partnering with our county, the county in which we are located, to serve us, to make up the other 51 to 52% of the work. Now, some of the things that come into play is the fact of scheduling. And so from the way it sounds, from what I've read, our police chief, our mayor, is working with our sheriff, and they understand the schedules of everyone's police presence, and the and the work that goes on there. And so I think that, accordingly, we as God's people within the town of Andrews need to be leaders in this respect. If nothing more than understanding our situation. And I know that it can be frustrating. A good example, and I think a very well thought out illustration is, when you're sick and you go to the doctor and you have to wait several hours to get in, that could be frustrating. That is as much of a frustration as being sick itself. Well, when you're in need of a police presence in your life, or in someone know's life, you feel frustrated when they don't get there at a particular time. Or if you're a businessman or businesswoman, and the alarm in your store, your office goes off, you would hope that there would be a police presence there within minutes. And that's just not going to happen. Not in the situation that we're in at the moment. The situation that we're in is that, as Mayor McClary stated, and I wholeheartedly agree with him. In our current situation as a small town, we have to have the ability to partner with our counties and to fill in the gaps in places that we can't do things in and of ourselves. And this is a good example. So first of all, from a biblical standpoint, one of the things that we need to have in mind is a good understanding of our situation. Secondly, we need to have biblical patience. Again, I know it can be frustrating. I'm not taking away from this frustration, but we need to have patience with the way things are directed. And thirdly, we need to submissively support and help in areas that we can support and we can help. Titus 3:1-2 talks about that submissiveness to rules and authorities. But it goes on to talk about the gentle spirit that we should have. Paul goes on and tells Titus to avoid the quarreling and to show perfect courtesy towards others in this. We need to remember that our law enforcement officers, and look, I know there are bad apples everywhere. I mean, we get that thrown in our face from the news all the time. I know there are bad apples when it comes to policemen, but there are bad apples in every organization. There are bad apples in the education system with teachers. There are bad apples, in mills and plants. There are bad apples in other work areas. I'm sure you probably work with a bad apple if you're not a bad apple yourself. So we can't just throw out the baby with the bathwater. The majority of police are in the position that they're in because God's placed them there. Many of them want to be there. They want to serve their community. They enjoy the work that they do. And yet they lay their life on the line every day. They are in a greater percentage for someone in the public to hurt them or kill them than any other profession from a public service standpoint. And so we need to keep in mind what's going on. And I can confess at times I've wondered, why aren't the police cars out more? Why do we not have this particular situation being taken care of? And what it boils down to is that there are just not any police officers out there. No one wants to be a part of that public service anymore. And a lot of it has to do with our media. A lot of it has to do with public perception and the way that we treat our police officers. And as Christians, as believers, we need to be leaders in this particular area so that we can have the people put in place when we need them. So until next time, dear ones, I hope God will be gracious to you. His face will shine upon you, and give you peace.